Hola, everyone. Welcome to We Are One. Our subject for today's show: bipartisanship versus reconciliation, and governing with executive orders versus legislation. I'm your host, Charles Clemens. If our content is your kind of thing, go to that subscribe button, hit it, and comment that I subscribed, and we will give you a big thank you. Now let's get to it. Bipartisanship, reconciliation, and executive orders. Oh my. President Biden has repeatedly expressed his preference for bipartisanship, though with a time limit. There is an emergent need of the average working American that needs to be addressed, and that's what he is looking at. Room was left for negotiation for the $1.9 trillion deal. In unusual bad faith, the Republican counteroffer was roughly a third of that. Perhaps because there was little to no money for multinational corporations or giveaways for the ultra-rich, foreign donors. It'll add too much to the budget deficit. We need bipartisanship. The only things that occurred with bipartisanship and worked in the last few decades has been to the great advantage of the rich and the powerful interest who needed it the least, while the average American family has gotten less, if anything. Reconciliation, on the other hand, has its own issues. Necessary because of the obstructive nature of the filibuster, which is still in use, used excessively by the Republican Party to make democratically controlled House bills die in transit to the Senate, 90% of which were bipartisan. Hundreds and hundreds of them. But the budget reconciliation process Republicans love? Until now. 4+ years, the GOP has used budget reconciliation to give a tiny bit of help to the people in their tax returns, while giving the aforementioned most profitable multinational corporations and the richest Americans government-breaking bailouts. Roughly $8 trillion worth. Which is, no big deal unless the regular people they're supposed to represent need a bit of it. But wait, a Democrat is in office. Time to start complaining about the deficit. Now, all of this nonsense does not fall solely at the feet of Republicans. The old corporate Democrats couldn't negotiate their way out of a paper bag with a chainsaw. Only a centrist Democrat could give up leverage on a huge piece of national legislation to appease the party opposition leadership who just lost by a vote of the people. I'm looking at you, Nancy and Chuck. On that note, centrist and corporate Democrats are still leaps and bounds better than President Clown Shoes. Bipartisanship. Just shut it. We need reconciliation to get life moving here, because the previous administration failed to do so. The big-mouthed, orange idol you chose failed. Bipartisanship says the do-nothing obstructionist, wholly fractured, double-standard bearers known as the GOP. Just shut it. Take a moment. Take two. And listen to us. Governance by the people. We will lead you. And then you represent us. That's how this works. The groundwork for that act of public purpose was set down in the preamble of the Constitution by our founders to, quote, promote the common welfare. Not just the top 1%. It's a core belief cemented in the opening of the document which all of our hopes of this great experiment rest. And so many Republicans claim to worship. So these three things, bipartisanship, reconciliation, and executive orders, in fact, at this moment, are all needed. Until we as a nation, as a civilization, begin to operate as the true governing body of people we were intended to be. All right. Now I'm going to close this out by answering a viewer question. This is from Wendy in Gig Harbor, Washington. Here's what she asked. What do you think about this? Former United States Vice President Joe Biden, who is running against President Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential election, said that he would not use executive orders to implement his policies because you, quote unquote, can't use executive orders unless you are a dictator. Please don't tell me you're surprised by Democrat hypocrisy. To answer this question, we did some research on the original quote. This was a proven out-of-context statement by a man named Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, quoted by USA Today as a, quote, conservative luminary who presents a skewed version of the truth, end quote. Kirk has been flagged for false and misinformation by Facebook repeatedly, including this particular statement. Turning Point USA has had hundreds of fake accounts removed by Facebook, founded by Mr. Kirk, for using these fake profiles and spreading false and provably wrong information, all within pro-Trump messaging specifically targeted at young people of voting age, and all brought up here by a little bit more by the Business Insider. Quote, Facebook said it discovered the campaign after reporting from the Washington Post last month found that an affiliate group, Turning Point Action, was paying teenagers to post pro-Trump messages. Additionally, they said this. Facebook identified a coordinated campaign to create fake accounts that commented on other people's posts after the Washington Post's Isaac Stanley Becker reported last month on the campaign to pump out conservative messages on the platform. Since then, Facebook said it identified 200 more fake accounts tied to a group called Rally Forge, a marketing agency that said it was working on behalf of Turning Point USA, as well as an organization called Inclusive Conservation Group. Facebook said it has now banned Rally Forge from this platform as well. Also from the Insider, Turning Point USA is a conservative activist group founded by Charlie Kirk, a 26-year-old who spoke at this year's RNC convention, Republican National Convention, According to the Post report last month, Turning Point Action paid teenagers to post messages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter that mirror talking points from Trump's re-election campaign. The messages included misleading or outright false claims, and the users did not disclose their relationship with the original TPA, the Post reported. Finally, the Insider says, in addition to the coordinated comments, Facebook took down 55 pages, 75 Instagram accounts, all associated with the campaign. All told, the associated accounts spent $973,000 on ads for Facebook and Instagram. So, now, Biden campaigned on the promise of utilization of executive orders to undo the destruction of Trump's toxic executive orders he made. Our statistics, thanks to those at the American Presidency Project, tell us this. There are less than a dozen executive orders in difference between the last three presidencies of either party. Biden, thus far, 29. Obama, 276. And Clinton, 364, for a total of 677. Trump, 220. Little Bush, 291. Bush Sr., 166 executive orders for a total of 669. So, it goes both ways. Thank you, Wendy. We appreciate your question and hope this provided some insight. The fact is, in a government where both sides worry more about re-election than representing the people who they serve, you will find no lack of hypocrisy from either side. Thank you all. Please send us those questions and perhaps get them answered on air. That's our show for the night. To make sure you don't miss a thing, please hit that subscribe button and comment "You subscribe" for a big thank you from us. I'm Charles Clements, and this has been We Are One.